Rev up your engines!
Cool Cat Computer says, Scotty, how do you determine if the price for a used vehicle is fair? Is Kelley Blue Book pretty accurate? Not anymore. I'm old enough to remember when Kelley actually ran Kelley Blue Book. Everything was honest in them, but a long time ago, all of the companies, including Kelley Blue Book, got bought off by bigger companies that also happen to sell used cars. So it's in their self-interest to make these book values as high as possible because they want to sell them to you for as much money as possible. So in that sense, those book values are about as accurate as when take your wife's engagement diamond ring to a jeweler and say, I want this appraised. And he'll say, that's worth $10,000. Then say, what will you pay me for that diamond ring? And he'll probably offer you two. So, take all that stuff with a grain of salt. As far as I'm concerned, it's total BS. And you know why? Because they don't do that in England. And when I took a trip to England last year, let me tell you, I was amazed at how cheap, low-priced these good used cars were that people were selling there. Because they don't go for that malarkey in England. They don't have these fake boosted prices. And you could get used cars at very good prices there. And some of them were the same models they sell over here, Toyotas, Hondas, even Fords. They just were a lot cheaper there used because people didn't fall for this BS inflated value that these books give now. It's just gotten to be to a point of absurdity. The people that put the values in are the same people that are selling used cars in mass. It's just insanity as far as I'm concerned. Al Locum says, there's no such thing as a cheap flooded car. It's all junk from my experience. Yeah. Boy, you're telling the truth. You're preaching to the choir here, man. People don't understand that water, especially flood water, which is generally dirty water, so it's going to short out electronics even faster, is insidious on the electronics of a modern car. I once had a customer, brought me a car, happened to be a Volkswagen, and it wouldn't run. And I worked on it for 7 hours. Every time I found one thing that was wrong, I'd fix it, still wouldn't run. I'd find something else wrong. So he comes over, he says, what's going on with my car? He says, your pile of junk Volkswagen is driving me crazy. I said, I fixed this, then that doesn't work. I fixed nothing. He said, oh, didn't I tell you? 3 years ago, water came in through the window. It got that flooded that it came in the window. And he said that he drained all the fluids and he took the computer out, took the cover off it and dried it with his hairdryer. It started up and he drove it for 3 years. Well, then it fell apart and I said, forget this. This is junk. And he towed it to a junkyard and got rid of it. It did last 3 years. Now, that's a rarity that they last that long before all the problems show up. That's why the insurance companies total flooded cars, because they're responsible for fixing it right. And they know that if they fix that thing and more flood damage comes down the line, they got to pay for it. So they see a flooded car, they get up to the dash seat, the window, they'll immediately total them and say, good luck. So don't ever buy one unless you want a shell. Let's say you got a good engine and transmission, but your body's all rusted up north or smashed up. Hey, buy a flooded car. The body's still perfectly fine and put your parts on it. But don't buy one and think it's going to be good to drive as a car by itself. Boom Sugar says, Scotty, hello from Niagara Falls, Ontario. Well, I'm from Niagara Falls, New York, just across the river. I got a 2013 Toyota RAV4 Limited with 106,000 kilometers. When I start driving, I hear a ticking rumbling sound when the cars drive at the light. Okay. Now, if you don't change your oil enough, dirty oil will make them tick. So change the oil. See if that goes away. Now, if that's not it, get yourself a little stethoscope or even a long metal screwdriver. Put them on the fuel injectors one at a time. And if you hear one of the fuel injectors going tick, 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 it's a clicking injector. Now, injectors can click and still work perfectly fine. So if you don't care, it isn't going to hurt anything. But you always have to pinpoint that noise. And like if you think it's the number 3 injector, all you got to do is unplug it then. And if you unplug it, the car won't run that well. But if you unplug it, the noise goes away, then you know that injector's making a noise. Always pinpoint a noise. Mick Kesson said, Scotty, I bought a 2011 Taurus show, 110,000 miles. Did I make a bad decision? My scan tool can't find anything wrong. Doesn't seem to make any weird noises. All right, that all depends on one thing. How much did you pay for that 2011 show with 110,000 miles? They're fun to drive, but, that's their high-end setup, and the transmissions were sort of weak. If it was taken care of, though, and you didn't pay much, you never know. I had a neighbor that had one. He got 170,000 miles out of the thing before he got rid of it. He got tired of it. Didn't break down. He just got tired of it. So if you didn't pay much for it, yeah. If you paid a bunch of money for it, no, then you got ripped off. But if you didn't pay much, you never know. They can last quite some time. Shadow Chia says, Scotty, I'm a new driver, newly licensed. I'm going to buy an '07 Scion TC tomorrow. Should I get insurance under my parents' name or on my own, and why? Well, it depends on what kind of relationship you have with your parents and how well of a driver you are. If you get through your parents, it's going to be a lot cheaper. But Then, if you screw up and smash into things, your parents' insurance premiums are going to go sky high for years. Realize, as a young person, I'm assuming you're young, you can give your age, you're going to pay pretty high insurance rates. You're going to pay a lot less if it's on your parents' insurance policy. So maybe you can sweet talk them and try not to get in your first wreck. When my son's learned how to drive, he got in a wreck, man, my premiums go sky high. You know, well, that's life. But if you got a good relationship with your parents and they'll do it, go right ahead. Just be careful when you're driving. Big Ben says, Scotty, I got a brand new 2019 Ford Mustang EcoBoost. What do you think of them? Okay, I like the Mustangs. Now, the EcoBoost engine is a 4-cylinder engine, but it puts out 300-something horsepower. And they made that particularly for the European market, because there they tax the heck out of them if they got big engines, V8, V12. So they decided they're going to make a Mustang, smaller 4-cylinder engine, and they don't have to pay the taxes that they do. They have extravagant taxes for larger engines. The same thing in Europe goes for motorcycles. That's why a lot of these Japanese companies made these screaming 600cc motorcycles that went 160, 180, right? Because they tax motorcycles that are bigger than 600 cc's. So they made smaller ones. I even know guys in England, I guess they let you drive little mopeds when you're 14. You don't have to wait till you're 16. And they got some of these mopeds. They soup them up. These stupid little mopeds do 100 miles an hour. So there's a reason for a lot of stuff. And with that, hey, why not? Dirty Water says, Scotty, I got a used Lincoln LS for $1,400. Are they reliable or not? Did I make a mistake? Or did I make a smart move? All right, if it's in good shape, no, it could be perfectly fine. They got a lot of power. So they can last a long time. They're not overtaxing the engine. Now, yes, they're gas hogs in town. On the highway, not so bad. I had a customer, he got like 27 miles a gallon on his. He only paid $1,400. They say that the average car in the United States costs between $2,500 and $3,500 a year to buy and maintain. You got a car for $1,400. If it lasts you 1 year, you don't spend a lot of money on it. You're making out like a gangbuster anyway, so. Brandon Taylor says, Scotty, I'm 23 years old, looking to buy a truck, preferably a Toyota, but I can't spend too much money. Any tips? Thanks. Well, yeah, if you can find a Toyota, it's going to be really old because they even keep their values for a really long time. So, in that case, Ford Rangers aren't bad smaller pickup trucks. If you can find one that's not insane, you know, doesn't have 250,000 miles, maybe it's got 100,000 miles, they can still last quite some time, and they're very decent trucks. Or, like, I'm not a Nissan fan, but the Nissan Frontier, they're smaller pickup trucks, they're not bad. And you can get a used one of them a lot cheaper than you're going to get a Toyota. They can still last quite some time. Look for a Toyota. You never know. Maybe somebody joined the Army or some old guy can't drive anymore and you can find a good one. But if you can't, Ranger and the Frontiers, they're not bad. Tidia Greer 1107 says, what else could be the problem? I have a battery and alternator drain. The alternator has been replaced 4 times. If it keeps draining them, the first thing you want to do, check the wiring coming off the alternator. There's plugs and there's things bolted on. Take them off. Look at them closely with a big brake flashlight. You see green corrosion or any kind of corrosion, clean it all off with spray, electrical cleaner, make it whistle clean and put it back on. Any corrosion, either where it plugs on the alternator or when any of those wires plug in together, even something as stupid as a battery terminal that's corroded internally can do that. If that's okay, then you got to do a parasitic drain test. I got a video on how to fix battery drain in your car. Watch that. It gets the whole rigmarole. You can buy about $50 worth of equipment and learn how to do it yourself with a meter and some wire and how to test it. It's not that hard to do. Then you test to find where is there a drain. The meter would show a drain and you'd start unplugging stuff and pulling out fuses. When the drain goes down, you know that's the problem. That's bad. Mark Webster says, Scotty, are you a fan of the old Car Talk radio show that used to air on NPR stations? Oh yeah, click and clack. I lived in Boston when they were doing their show. They were really interesting characters. The two of them started out doing this radio show, and they did it for years for nothing. And then one day, the one brother said to the other, yeah, let's ask them for $50 a week. And the other brother said, yeah, $50 each a week. Well, decades later, they were millionaires from the show. So they actually had professional joke writers writing for them. And don't think that these are just some hillbilly guys in a garage. Both of them went to MIT. So they were very bright people. But yeah, they were interesting characters, you know? I mean, they had a shtick and they knew how to make money off of it. There's no argument. And their car advice was decent car advice. They had worked on cars in their time. They knew about cars. But mainly they were a very good comedy routine. Me, I've only got me, so there's no Scotty and Scotty. There's just one Scotty. So if you never want to miss another one of my new car repair videos, remember to ring that bell.